Welcome to the Ask Coach Mac podcast, where coaches from around the world get their strength and conditioning questions answered.
What's up, guys? McKeefery here, and welcome to episode number 43 of Ask Coach Mac. Thank you so much for joining me today. We have a great question from Terrance, but before we get to that, I want to thank today's sponsor, Iron Grip. Iron Grip is the largest provider of commercial freeweight equipment worldwide and the only manufacturer with a line of exclusively American-made freeweight equipment. Their equipment can be found in premier fitness facilities in over 60 countries, including 3 facilities I've put together. They're the industry leader and my go-to choice for bars, plates, and dumbbells. For more information, go to irongrip.com, follow them on Twitter, or call Chris DeSanto at 509-230-3124. All right, here's today's question from Terrance.
Hi, my name is Terrance Hurst. I am from Wake Forest University. Our question for Coach Mac is, what advice would you give to a new young strength coach that just accepted their first job offer?
Terrance, this is a good question, and honestly, the fact that you are asking this question shows some maturity beyond your years as a young strength coach getting into the profession. I think anytime you take a new role, anywhere you go, the natural instinct is to come in and guns blazing, trying to make change and prove your worth and all those things. But the reality is that, the best thing you can do is, come in and observe. You've been given 2 ears and one mouth for a reason. I think you gotta listen. You gotta find out where the pain points have been. You gotta find out what the issues, what the successes have been, and so that way you can kind of first learn what has worked, and second, find opportunities that that you can come in and make a direct impact. If you come in right away and you talk about how bad this is or bad that is, they may have thought that was the best thing in the world, and completely bought into it. And we all know strength and conditioning is as much about getting them to buy in and believe as it is what you actually do. And so you got to come in and sit back and observe. There's a good book written by Chip and Dan Heath that talks about going into a culture and affecting change. It's called Switch, and ultimately that's exactly what it is figuring out what needs to happen for there to be a switch in culture. And something they talk about is identifying the bright spots, going in and identifying what has worked, and really, learning from the people that have been there and what has worked, and then finding ways to expand upon that and even make it, have more of an effect. And so I think that's number one. Number two, you got to come in with an open mind. Just because something has worked for you a certain way, or you've seen it done a certain way, doesn't mean that that's always the only way that it's going to be done. And so, come in with an open mind. Make sure that the best thing that you can do is have a variety of experiences to where you have lots of tools in the toolbox, and then you can find, and reach in and pull out the appropriate tool for the appropriate situation, as opposed to, just having everything, be a one type of approach. You got to lean on your mentors. The third thing, I think, you're going to come up against situations that you're not necessarily prepared for or you have not seen. And that's where having a good network of coaches that you can reach out to and ask questions to and get their advice and their feedback, I think is good. And it also provides some social proof. I mean, typically you probably would have gotten that job because of somebody that you've known. And so being able to talk to a coach or talk to the head strength coach and say, hey, this is the way that, McKeefery would have, when I talk to him, he would do it, that may carry some weight. Or maybe it's the position coach or the sport coach that you work for, and maybe that, he or she would carry some weight. You also need to make sure that you don't confuse passion with emotion. Going in there, you don't want to, be very overly emotional, and yell and scream and just bark orders just to bark orders. You want to definitely be passionate. You want to have energy, and you want to coach with energy, but you don't want to go in there just to screaming and yelling and being who you're not, just to try to show that you're, you got this this power now, this positional leadership. And then lastly, you have to understand that you coach the athlete. You have to make sure that you develop a relationship. When you walk in the door, you're not going to have had a relationship with the athletes before, and so it's important that you develop some rapport there, that you work together, and that they understand that you care about them more as a person than you do as a player. And that's going to allow you to be able to steer them in the right direction when it comes to actually getting them to follow you with what you've written up from a strength and conditioning perspective. And so, Terrance, you gotta have two ears and one mouth. You got to come with an open mind. You got to lean on your mentors. You can't confuse passion with emotion, and you got to understand that you're coaching the athletes first, and then worrying about what you're doing from a strength and conditioning perspective. So I hope that answers your question. Would love to hear what everyone else thinks. Use the hashtag AskCoachMac43 to continue the discussion over on Twitter. Terrance, thanks for your question. I want to encourage everyone else that if you have a question that you would like to potentially be featured on the show, head over to AskCoachMac.com. There you can ask your question by hitting the record button at the bottom of the page. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys for listening. Here's a quote to finish off the day by Steve Jobs. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking and don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it. Take care, guys. I'll see you in the next episode of Ask Coach Mac. Bye for now.